After 6 episodes, the Kenobi series is finally over. We go over the final episode, episode 6, that came out yesterday. We review the series as a whole, give you our thoughts, our opinions, and, we always get things right here on Chatooine, despite me being the minority on the show. But all that and more here on Chatooine. Welcome back to Chatooine, everyone. I'm your host, Star Wars Only, joined with Darth Daddy Lunga, the Goldman. And is that Palpa memes I see? Is that
indeed
Anakin motherfucking Skywalker over here? He's got the hair of him now.
We finally got man. It's been a long 4 weeks.
Anakin's hair.
You've grown so much.
It's grown, yeah.
It's like little Annie's become a teenager now. It's amazing.
Now.
Oh wait, show me that shirt. Wait, show me the shirt you have on.
Wait, it's been 4 weeks. I'm ready to trigger you guys.
There we go.
Oh, what the fuck?
It's misspelled. It's supposed to be an AH at the end.
Oh, Walker.
Walker.
Love it.
Glad to have you back, Palpa Memes. If you guys are new here, we're dual streaming right now on the Star Wars Only channel and the Chatooine channel. So if you're watching on my channel, the Star Wars Only channel, please click the link in the description. Subscribe to the Chatooine show. We're going to be doing like different clips and stuff on there. And we're going to leave all the latest episodes of Chatooine up on that channel once the show is over. But if you are new here on Chatooine, we talk about the news, topics, debates, and simply chat about Star Wars. If you want to listen to the show, you can do that on Spotify and anywhere else you listen to your podcast. If you are listening right now, please give us a 5-star review, support the channel, support the show. And if you leave a super chat in the stream at the end of every single show, like the last 10 to 15 minutes, we're going to dedicate all that time strictly to answering super chats, just so you guys don't feel like we're missing them. We'd rather get them all done at once. You're not obligated to do so at all, but it just guarantees a answer to your question. And as you guys know, we do give all the right answers, even if they're not correct. But
some of us.
Oh yes, sir. Yeah. So me and Goldman have been going at it on Twitter about something not related to Kenobi. That's okay.
I joined in on it too. But the key word here is I'm not always right, but I'm never wrong.
Exactly. That's how we do it here on Chatooine. But one thing that feels right at the moment is the finale to the Kenobi series. It's here. It's done. I mean, can you guys believe it? It was like a month long of a show, pretty much, because 2 episodes came out during Celebration, which was in May.
Yep.
Hasn't even been a full month since Celebration, and we're now done with the series. Series is over. It's how do you guys want to go about this? I feel like it's more proper to talk about the series finale, the last episode that just came out. We haven't heard anything from fucking Palpa Memes, I think, since the show debuted. And then Nick, me and Goldman, we talked about these episode 5 last week, and then Lunga, you were gone for last week as well, so we've missed your thoughts on that. So it's been a minute, so I think we can do the finale at the beginning, and then we can kind of talk about the series as a whole after. Does that sound good?
That sounds good to me.
I like.
Works for me.
I will start off by saying I think the finale is maybe the best, if not the second best episode in the series. For me, the first and the last episode are just like, oh man, they really do it well. And of course, spoilers. If you guys haven't seen the show, I don't know why you'd be watching this if you haven't. But spoiler alert, there's one moment that this actually got me kind of like feeling some emotion, and it was seeing my boy Qui-Gon at the end. Like him showing up, I think that was a beautiful way to bring him back kind of in the series. I love the Vader versus Obi-Wan fight in this. I thought I was actually going to dislike it. A lot of my problems with the series are still relevant in this final episode, but the story has a lot more highs in this than previous episodes. It feels a little bit more focused in this finale. And I mean, honestly, it didn't feel like so much of what I would call basic fan service that I disliked about the last episode and most of the episodes leading up to this. So I really am surprised at how much I like this final one. I'm not a big fan of Reva still. I really feel like that's a whole nother conversation in of itself. But I feel like her story, even with this last episode, there's so many moments where I feel like it kind of where I get interested in Kenobi and Vader reflecting on their past relationship and just them dealing with the Force as a whole. That's so interesting to me. And then we cut to this other story of Reva constantly and her relationship with Luke now, and the kid Luke literally got attacked by some thief in the night pretty much, and then like goes on about his life like nothing. Like stuff like that is just, there's small nitpicks, and I will acknowledge they are nitpicks, but it's a nitpick every 5 minutes in the show that keeps adding up that I dislike. But the overall, the story of this, it is good now. It is a satisfying at the end. You know, I'm happy with the conclusion of Kenobi and everything. I'm sure we'll talk about a possibility of a season 2 later on, but I am content at the moment with the way the first season ended, but mainly this episode 6 ended, and I'm happy with this episode on its own and as a whole. But that's my quick little summary thoughts. Lunga, what did you think of this final episode?
It is my favorite and the one I hate the most at the same time.
Oh, I love that.
If we go with Ben's arc and Vader's arc, perfect. It was just spectacular from beginning to end. I would say from the beginning of the series, but just this episode, it was great. The tension was there the entire time. They stayed true to how Vader would react to things. I was even okay because I had 3 major nitpicks, which is kind of a oxymoron, right? But I had 3 major nitpicks. The one was Leia, and it got worse. I was an apologist at the beginning, and it got worse as the series went on. Leia, like, knowing Ben so much that what happened in New Hope, and I'm not talking just that message, but, you know, just like when he died and she was consoling Luke, that none of that ever came up, even a mention, was kind of off to me. So that's one of my nitpicks, but I'll get to that later because it kind of goes this. The other one involves Reva. I was on board for her. I was on board for the character. Now everyone was talking about the leaks and how this most likely the ending was changed supposedly based on the leaks because they're doing a season 2. And I think now if this the parts that we're talking about, that's the issue. And the other nitpick was the Vader thing. I haven't felt this since. I thought they wrapped that up great in this. I thought they made it so compelling. Again, spoiler guys, you get to the very end and you see, and this is what they've been echoing in the comics, right? The Vader comics, where he's like subvertedly constantly doing all these things that he wants to do under Palpatine's radar. And he has to hide this from him because he knows Palpatine will shut him down immediately. So this thing about Kenobi, Palpatine's like, oh, you still have feelings for your old master? And he's like, no, he's nothing. And he basically shut him out. So Vader had realized, I cannot do anything involving Obi-Wan anymore, or Palpatine's going to find out and there's going to be problems. So that's why he didn't go after him anymore. So that's the explanation of why he hasn't felt this since. So that I thought they did great. So Ben's arc and Vader's spectacular. The fight, the reverse Ahsoka thing where he hit the other eye instead, and the reveal and the way they spoke to each other, it was so good. And Ben's resolution when Vader says, you didn't kill Anakin, I did. You know, that's where Ben had his closure. He's like, all right, I can let this go. But the Reva thing, I was certain she was going to die, right? I'm like, she's going to die. She's going to have a redemption arc. We knew that was coming. She was going to turn and she was going to die. Now, I didn't expect it to where she wasn't technically even a Darksider. She was pretty much just wanting revenge, which basically means she is a Darksider, but she wasn't working for Vader. It wasn't that she wanted to kill Jedis. She just wanted to kill Vader. And then what they did in this last episode, it almost felt like they had to just come up with a reason to do something with her, right? She has now been stabbed through the belly twice and been okay. Qui-Gon can't survive it, okay? That doesn't make any sense.
She doesn't have rage longer, that's why.
Star Wars Only and I discussed this
right.
last
She was
week.
going on with the pain, right? It was a Kylo thing. She was popping herself in the belly, right, to get to feel the pain, to keep moving forward.
That's the dark side, Longo.
But here, this is how and it's disappointing, not because I don't like the character. I was compelled by the character at the beginning. And what they did to me, I feel is a complete disservice. You made this character pointless to me now. You have her do all this stuff, reveal that she wants to kill Vader. He stabs her, which realizes he stabbed her when she was a kid. She survives both times. And then her plan now becomes, which is split, this episode split with her plan. Oh, I know about Luke. He's Anakin's son. I'm going to go kill him to get my revenge on Anakin, who doesn't even know Luke exists.
If anything, that would benefit Anakin and Vader. He'd be like, oh, thank God.
How does that... But he didn't even know. That's the thing. He didn't even know. So how is that revenge? And then she drags herself injured to Tatooine, and she's fighting off two, homesteaders who's carrying a version of a futuristic shotgun, and she can't do anything about it. They're throwing things at her. She can't use the Force. She can't stop them. And then she has a meltdown when she sees Ben. It was just dumb. Okay, like if they did something where they were all heading towards together, and it was all three of them in one spot, and then she tries to help Ben because she has her redemption or her turn, and Vader kills her, and then we go to the battle between Vader and Ben. That would have been much better to me. I would have been okay with the character's arc. But this whole thing, it almost feels like, wait, we want to use her for season 2. So this is what we're going to do now. And that, the character would have been much better to me if they had her die at the end of the series. It would have been much more noble. Yeah, it would have been a little redundant because you always have that redemption and death kind of thing. It happens a lot. But at least it would have made sense. This didn't make any sense to me. And it's such a conundrum for me because the stuff with Ben and Vader was so fucking good that it's like I keep thinking about this and it keeps drawing it. That's why it's my favorite, and I hated it the most out of all of them.
All right, Palpamemes, we haven't heard from you in a hot minute, so before we get your take on the whole series, let us know at least.
I feel like I have to give my take on the whole series before I come in.
No, just episode 6. You don't have to respond to me or Lunga's takes either. Just
well, actually, with Lunga, I kind of semi-agree with you for the most part when it comes to Reva. I like the character. For me, I really like the concept of Reva more than anything. The idea, the concept, those ideas are there, and the foundations I really, really like. Right, the idea of a youngling wanting to get revenge on Vader because her friends or whatever, she saw them get killed right in front of her. Very, very intriguing, very unique, something I don't think any of us expected. I love that. But I do agree there's definitely some issues with the ending and with her on Tatooine. I mean, we can talk about the choreography aspect of it, where it's like, okay, why doesn't she just kill, slice Owen and Beru like that? But I would argue, well, she probably thinks they're connected to Vader, so they probably want them to suffer like she did because Luke is kind of their kid. She even says, you treat Luke like he's even your own. So there's explanation for that. But I mean, the thing for me the most obviously is just Kenobi and Vader. Kenobi's arc is one of the best arcs we've seen in Star Wars. It's right up there on top 3 or 5 for me. I can't be more thankful enough that they wrote it in the way that they wrote it. They didn't throw a bunch of fan service in. They didn't do just stuff for no reason. Everything really did make sense for Kenobi and Vader, and I will always appreciate that. We can just talk about, I love just that kind of poetic parallel with, we can talk about Ahsoka cutting his helmet, and then Obi-Wan cuts the other side, and then you look at Luke and plot armor. I mean, hey, what's Star Wars without some plot armor, right? Then we can look at Luke at the end taking the helmet off. It's a nice little... It's nice, okay? I like that. The episode, I just love the episode. But I do agree the Reva stuff felt contrived. It felt kind of like, I feel like she had another scene leaving Tatooine or something. Something was changed there, and then they decided, well, we don't really want to kill her off, especially with all this controversy, those racial controversies that were going on before, like after the first or second episode, I can't remember. I did see a lot of people come out after they had read the leaks that she was going to get killed. They're like, oh, that's not going to look good on Lucasfilm after all of this. So perhaps they changed it really, really like last minute. But I love this episode, and I love the music in it too. The music definitely stood out more than any of the other ones. And I'm not just talking about the original Star Wars themes that they played, but the Kenobi theme that plays in a more operatic sense whenever Kenobi or Ben is fighting Vader on that planet. That was some cool stuff. I love the choreography. I love that classic prequel Jedi fighting style. I know a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people love it. I personally liked it. It was good to where it wasn't overdone. It wasn't too dancey like it was in the prequels. It was a nice blend of just kind of prequel and OT fighting style, and I really like that. But one thing that I kind of have a gripe for, and we can say it's a nitpick, I'm not sure, but it's Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon, I feel like if you're going to bring Liam Neeson, they wasted him. I would have loved to see the end of the show be him walking to his cave, him meditating, maybe have some rocks floating around him, because we know Jedi do that when they want to get close to the Force. And then Qui-Gon shows up and, he explains, I've been here the whole time, you just couldn't see me type of thing. And then they have a nice conversation about where the future goes for the Jedi and stuff. And then boom, it ends there, right? That would have been, I would have preferred that a lot more than this awkward shot of Liam Neeson, and he says whatever line. I was beginning to think you weren't coming or something like that. It's nice. I like it. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel like if you're gonna bring Qui-Gon back, I felt like it was underwhelming, I guess. But that and the kind of Reva on Tatooine, those are my only problems with the episode. Other than that, it was phenomenal. I have no other complaints other than that. It was great.
All right, hit us, Goldman.
For one, I agree with your point about Qui-Gon. Like, I'm not interested in simply seeing Qui-Gon. I'm interested in seeing his potential conversations with Obi-Wan, which we really didn't get. So I agree with you there about Qui-Gon. Besides that, I loved almost everything about this episode. I was so happy with what happened. I was a little traumatized from Book of Boba Fett that we would get a piss poor crap finale, but I was so glad that they ended it, maybe not perfectly, but enough for me to where I am extremely satisfied. Now, we discussed it. This episode's really divided into two parts. There's the Reva story and then the Obi-Wan and Vader story. So I'll discuss the Obi-Wan part first. This whole series, I wanted to see a character arc from Obi-Wan, where he began the story as, a depressed, broken man, and he ended the series as the somewhat optimistic Jedi, someone who values the Jedi teachings again. That's what I wanted to see on the arc. So he's fighting Vader. The fight was cool. I like the fight. Again, I still don't like how Vader buries Obi-Wan and just walks away. Like, I always feel like Vader would just 100% make sure Obi-Wan's dead, but I'm not gonna get too upset about that. So the part of the episode that just made this entire series worth it for me was when the helmet's cracked and Obi-Wan just starts crying and he apologizes to Vader. He's like, "I'm sorry, Anakin. I'm sorry for everything." To me, that made this whole series worth it, because realistically, I saw someone make a comment and it really bothered me. They were like, this series, what it did was it took Obi-Wan from where he was at the end of Revenge of the Sith, regressed him, and then gave him an arc where he concluded where he was at the end of Revenge of the Sith. And I completely disagree with that, because in Revenge of the Sith, we don't really see Obi-Wan's true reaction to what happened in that movie. Like, he gets upset that Anakin turned to the dark side, he fights them, and then he takes Luke to Tatooine and it ends. Realistically, any human being who goes through what Obi-Wan went through would be so extremely depressed and so ridden with guilt. And that's just what I wanted to see in the series. And it began with that. And once he found out that Vader was alive, I was like, okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to see. So then in this finale, right, he's ridden with guilt, and he now has a chance to apologize to Vader. I think a lot of people don't understand how therapeutic a simple apology can be to someone you feel like you've wronged significantly. And part of the immense guilt that Obi-Wan felt was that he felt he failed Anakin. So him simply apologizing must be so cathartic for him. And even though Vader didn't accept the apology, because he's Darth Vader, he's not Anakin, that was still so crucial to Obi-Wan's story for me, and I loved seeing it. And then he fights, he says goodbye, and then we get some typical good Vader lines where he's like, "You didn't kill Anakin, I did," which in a way is kind of a little bit of accountability, because at first he's like, "You did this to me," but then at the end he says, "No, I did this to myself." So that was a little interesting. So I just love everything about the Obi-Wan portion of this finale. Just that apology and him overcoming his guilt and then becoming the Jedi we want him to see at the end of the series. I love that. Now, going to the Reva story, I didn't hate it. Did it feel unnecessary? Yes. I think that the biggest reason why a lot of people have a problem with Reva is because she goes on this arc, but her arc doesn't really impact Obi-Wan personally. So thus, it kind of makes her story feel irrelevant. If she went on an arc that deeply tied into Obi-Wan's story, then yes. But her role in this story, in terms of Obi-Wan's actual character arc, is just getting him off Tatooine to get Leia. Because after that, he completes his character arc with his confrontation with Vader, not because of Reva. So Reva goes and she's hunting down Luke. I didn't mind it so much that she's trying to get revenge on Vader. People make a good point that Vader doesn't know about Luke. For one, you could argue that maybe Reva doesn't know that Vader doesn't know about Luke. Now, I find that to be slightly unlikely. But the way I see that whole sequence is that, for one, Reva's had a 10-year plan to get revenge on Vader. And not only did it fail, but she got embarrassed in every way possible. So right now she's kind of spiraling out of control. She's injured. She's making rash decisions. So if someone's completely like mentally breaking down and they do stupid things, I kind of tend to forgive it a little bit. Not entirely, but that's how I rationalize it. Again, I kind of like to do mental gymnastics a lot to try and justify things I like. So maybe that's just me reaching. But so at the end, Obi-Wan comes back and he I think it hints or it shows his completion of his arc when he's kind of confronting and consoling Reva. He's like, "You're free now. You're not Anakin." I feel like Obi-Wan at the beginning of the series wouldn't have done that. He might have just straight up killed Reva or not done anything about it. So seeing Obi-Wan console Reva was the completion of his arc. So Obi-Wan went on this arc. I like the arc. The whole series had execution problems at times, but the foundation of the series I just really like, and this episode executed that almost perfectly to me.
I really like what you said about kind of how Reva's story didn't really feel like it intertwined with Kenobi's all that well. I mean, the way I think of it is like, if this was, let's say, this entire story, all 6 episodes about this Kenobi series was done in animation, it was done in the Clone Wars. I think Reva and Kenobi both having their stories kind of tie in ever so slightly would work out. I think the issue is when you call this series Kenobi, you expect it to be about Kenobi, and I hate to say it because I know this was kind of a complaint people had going into the series, and people kind of like wrote it off like, oh, it's no big deal, but a lot of like half of the series is about Reva and her story, and you get flashbacks about her now, and like there's a lot to her character now, which is fine. That is a fine thing to do, but the issue is it really, like, mainly I noticed with this episode, there are moments where you are having these huge emotional moments with Vader and Obi-Wan where you have the glimpses of Anakin coming through, and like Goldman was saying, is he's like, it's not really your fault. Like, I killed Anakin Skywalker. You didn't. I did. That's very impactful. And then immediately you cut to Reva fighting Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru and Tatooine. And it's just kind of, it lowers the stakes a little bit. And this is a complaint that I had with Goldman last week on episode 5, is I said, I am going to be pretty upset if Reva goes out to Tatooine to try to kill Luke and she spares him. And she's, in a sense, become an extremely integral character to the entire Star Wars story. I mean, this is an issue people had with, and she's not Jar Jar Binks, but this is an issue people had with Jar Jar Binks, is that you can't ignore Jar Jar. He's the reason Palpatine became what he is. Like that annoying ass character is such a big impact on the saga as a whole. Now Reva has the same thing, where it's like this character who has never been mentioned in the films is not really relevant because she decided to spare this fucking kid. He is now living forever. And also Luke just goes on without a beat. Like, he's not like hey, Uncle Owen, who the fuck was that trying to kill me like 3 days ago? He's just out and about living his life. And then Obi-Wan just pulls up and is like, hello there. It's just, some of that stuff feels really, it's like the seriousness of Star Wars is sometimes lessened, which I think is stupid to say in my own opinion, because people are going to be like, well, it's Star Wars, you're not supposed to take, well, there are parts of it that I do want to take seriously. And when you have stories and side tangent stuff like Reva stuff, it kind of takes me out of the story ever so slightly, because it's like, this is supposed to be a reflection on Kenobi. I wanted a character study almost. After the prequels, you look at Obi-Wan and you're like, man, there's so much more you can do with this character. And I think they were trying to do that with this series, but in order to kind of do what they do with The Mandalorian and make spin-off stuff, they wanted to add more. And so they added Reva. And there's talk on the block of her getting her own series. I don't want that. Did you retweet this, Connor? No, it was my friend The First Order on Twitter. He retweeted something that was from like one of those film review guys, and he's like, you could have had 2 shows. You could have had one about Reva being an Inquisitor, becoming someone who wants to take down Vader, and then you could have another one about Kenobi. And it feels like these 2 stories mixed into one. I agree with that, and I really dislike the fact that Reva took up so much of what I think could have been about Kenobi and Vader, and a little bit more emotional, a little bit more impactful.
Here's the problem with it. Okay. Here's the problem. Okay. Production companies do this a lot, right? They want to introduce a new character to possibly use later as a spin-off or something else. Okay. And they did that, and you could tell from the beginning that was the point of Reva in this series. Now, is that necessarily a bad thing? No, if you do it right. If you don't just plug it in not really care about the story, not really care how it plays in with the main story, just to get to the end to use the character later. That's when it becomes a fucking problem. And that's what they did here. Okay? Because if you're, if you want it to make sense in the story as it is, okay? Like I said, you have her doing this arc that she has, parallel to Kenobi, what he's going through. And then you basically had the end of last episode and half of this episode be a fucking Last Jedi's chase sequence, right? It was just chasing, okay? You could have cut all that shit out. You could have, at the end of last episode, have them take Leia, have her little, tit about it and say, no, I don't want you to leave me. Take her back home, please. And then this whole episode could have been Reva and Kenobi still kind of going at it. Then the Vader stuff happens. And then it's kind of a three-way thing. And he wants her to take out Kenobi. She doesn't. She turns on Vader. Then Vader stabs her in the gut instead of doing it last episode. She either dies, and that makes Kenobi fire up even more after everything he's seen happen, or he thinks she's dead, but she survives because it would be a flashback of Qui-Gon. Wouldn't that be perfect? He's standing there, and then she's cut in the gut. It'd be almost like a flashback to him. It could bring him to his senses, and he could, fight like he was doing before. And then she doesn't even have to die. She could still survive. And then you could still use her then later. But it would have played more as a part to the story. It would have played more in a part intertwining with Ben's story and made more sense in the series than how they did it. I don't know why they did it this way. I didn't know if they wanted her to stand alone. And it's like, this is better for this character if we have her stand alone. Then have her stand alone, right? Not in the series. Because it doesn't make sense storytelling wise. And that's the major problem. This is an arc. It's called an arc for a reason, right? It's an arc. Okay. She didn't have an arc. She went like this, then went like this, and then went like that. Okay. That's what happened to her throughout the series. There was no arc at all for her. They're going to give an arc in the next season, or if she has her own show. Is that where it's going to happen? Because I didn't see it in this one.
I disagree.
Okay?
I completely disagree with that.
Of course,
her arc was that she spent this whole time trying to.
Her arc was a straight line. That's okay. There's nothing wrong about that.
She spent her whole time trying to get revenge on Vader, and at the end, she realizes that it's a typical revenge story. That this whole time.
Hold on. Can I pause you?
No, you cannot. No, you cannot. You cannot.
No, you cannot.
This whole quest, her whole quest for revenge is turning her into the monster that she's trying to defeat this whole time. I'm not saying it was well done. I don't think it was that well done, but there was an arc. It was just really cliche. And I disagree that she did not have an arc.
There really wasn't an arc because
let's use the word you just said.
She gave away the revenge at the end, but she went from revenge on Vader, like trying to kill him, and then go back to kill his kid. Like, come on.
The moment you say she has been on this revenge thing the whole time,
but she has.
That's a straight line, Goldman. That is not an arc. That is a straight line.
An arc is about when you change. It's when you realize what
from
you're doing
episode
is wrong.
One
and
to 5, there was no change. There was no change in her. There was no change in her from episode 1 to 5. She was a straight line.
Episode.
No, she went.
No,
there was no arc.
Hang on. I will say, Gold. Like if you look at Rebels with Kenobi and Maul and the Obi-Wan series with Kenobi and Reva, to me it's the same fucking thing, dude. Like I like Maul being like, oh, I need to fucking go take out this kid.
What?
Or was he trying to take out the kid, or was he trying to take out Obi-Wan?
Oh, he was trying to kill Obi-Wan.
He wanted revenge. He wanted revenge on Palpatine and Obi-Wan. He wanted both of them.
Darth Maul did not have an arc.
Okay, but well, I mean, yeah, that's a good point. But I'm just saying in general, like one thing I feel like with the series is that what I disliked about that, whatever that episode of Rebels is called, about like having Maul come out and he like half the episode is about Ezra, and the really interesting stuff, which was Obi-Wan versus Maul, it's kind of put to the side and not really that integral because Ezra's in there. It's the same thing with this Kenobi series, where it's like, okay, I really want to focus on Kenobi and Vader, but no, I have to spend so much time on Reva and this fucking sex bot in the chat every goddamn episode.
You do realize that Star Wars Rebels is about Ezra and company, not about Obi-Wan and Darth Maul. So yes, Darth Maul and Obi-Wan's story in a show called Star Wars Rebels.
You do realize Kenobi is about Kenobi. It shouldn't be about Reva.
I agree with you about Reva, but it's not the same thing about Rebels.
Right, I wouldn't say it's the same because Rebels was a long ongoing series, right? And they had filler episodes. So that Obi-Wan Maul thing was kind of a filler thing because it's taking place kind of in this time period. Let's do a little. Look what we got here. So that was different because it's a long running series.
Yeah, let's ruin a great arc because Dave Filoni can't not get his hands on everything fucking integral to the franchise. Jesus.
My whole thing with Reva and stuff is I think she is important because Obi-Wan is helping her, right? So it's not like she's completely separated from Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is a big reason as to why she does change, whether you like where the change was placed or if you think it should have been placed over a longer period of time. That's a different subject. But, you know, when she's integral to the story, well, she's also integral because of Obi-Wan, right? And Obi-Wan's existence is the reason why she is changing. And so while I do, here's where I kind of land.
She had how much time did they talk to each other out of the entire 6 episodes? What was it?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. 5 and 6 were the where Obi-Wan became integral to her story, right? So it's still connected to Obi-Wan at the end. That's what I'm saying. She does have the arc that's connected with Obi-Wan. It's just where it was placed. I think that could have been done better. But that's
why one line. Where were you? That was it. That was the entire
the whole
linking of their storylines.
In chapter 5, when I guess they're talking through the Force. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Goldman. I don't think you need a lot. But at the end of the day, my thing is, I know we're going to talk about the series as a whole, but while we're on this subject, this is why I will always say, and I had the opposite opinion before the show released, is that this should have just been a movie. They should have stuck with their initial gut plan and made this a movie.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry, a movie would have been far better. Give it the fucking... Am I the only one who thought this thing was so under budget?
Oh my
god,
man.
it looked
awesome. We talked about this. We talked about this.
100 million.
The budget, how... We talked about how the budget...
You said 9,200 million? What?
Yeah, so like what people are hearing now...
That's not math, Palpatine. 9,200 million is
not a number.
Yeah.
That's like, what, 9 billion or something like that? Or
are you saying $92 million? Because you're saying 9,200 million.
90 to 100 million. Sorry.
92, a range.
Come on.
Okay. It sounded like you're saying 92 million.
101 million. There.
That's the budget for all the Star Wars shows.
No, they've been around 150 million.
Mandalorians was about 100.
That makes no sense why they would under budget. Because I mean, I hate the. I don't know if this is a reflection on Deborah Chow or the cinematographer or the DP for the fucking series, but there's very few shots in this entire series where I go, oh, that looks good. This whole show
it's because it was like
awful.
the prequels. It was because it was like the prequels. People keep
hold on, the volume. Slow down.
They don't really
take a seat, buddy. Take a seat. This whole show looked awful. Take a seat. It wasn't that bad.
It
was bad, man.
If you guys look at the way Deborah Chow's been talking about it, say there is a season 2, I don't think Deborah Chow's coming back. She doesn't seem like she had a lot to work with. It was a lot of blue screen rooms, and a lot of this is just speculation and stuff. But people keep blaming the volume. They're not really using the volume for this at all. It's pretty much blue screens all around. So, you know. I'll talk later.
Think they're using the volume because
a few things
I don't
know much.
I don't know much about it, like behind the scenes, but like I thought they would use the. I think one of the issues that I've had with Book of Boba Fett, and this is all, it's literally doing the prequel stuff over again. It is, oh, you have this revolutionary technology, great. You don't need to use it for everything. And that's what it seems. But I'm not going to say I disagree with the blue screen thing, because they did that behind the scenes footage of the Order 66 montage.
Every single one. The ones that Reva is posting now, every single one of them.
But even the ones that had nothing to do with the blue screen either. It was just CGI. Like when they had the Star Destroyer chasing Obi-Wan's ship.
Oh, that was a real model.
Dude, but you see how janky it was? It was like,
Obi-Wan's ship was not a real model. The Star Destroyer was a real model. You see,
but the Obi-Wan ship looked like it was hanging from a string, and it was like wobbling all over the place, and it went. Like, what is going on here?
I gotta watch that again.
Yeah,
that looked janky as hell.
Yeah, it's janky.
They don't do any establishing shots of half the damn things either. Like, you never get an establishing shot of Vader. Yes, they do not do. Go back to episode 5. They don't do a single establishing shot of Vader on the Star Destroyer. It's like you don't see the Star Destroyer from afar or anything. Like the stuff like that where it's small, minute things. But I think I mentioned this last week of, like, you know, sometimes I want it to feel slightly like a Star Wars movie. This feels so fucking under budget. And it just looks.
Deborah Chow, people keep. She wasn't given enough to work with.
I've read that the budget for the show was $25 million.
There's no what?
No, you wouldn't be able to make over 2 episodes.
An episode, maybe, not for the whole series.
Nope.
I mean,
definitely not an episode.
$25 million for an episode is a lot.
Is not.
That is. It's 25 no way. Does
that count? That's what I read. I would believe it. The show does look under budget. I would say the cinematography was bad. Besides some shaky cam, Like Tatooine looked great. It looked much better than it did Boba Fett.
Here's what I'll
That's a
say.
good point. That's a good
You
point.
I thought
guys-
the final battle was shot well. Overall.
You guys notice how much better the first 2 episodes, specifically the second episode, looked in terms of the visuals, I guess, the background and everything. That city.
that's a good point.
Was it Dayu? Dayu?
Maybe.
Yeah,
I
the
don't
thing
care.
I'm reading based on what Goldman says the budget for each of these episodes is in the region of 25 million. So
That's a
it's-
huge budget.
No, there's
That's a
there's
huge-
no way.
25 million for an episode is
Disney-
gigantic.
But then if it goes on, it's clear none of it has gone into the writing, continuity, or character development. But I
Yeah,
mean,
so probably not a legitimate. Yeah,
the budget
it's-
for each episode of Game of Thrones was like 10 to 15 million dollars. 25 for an episode is huge.
Game of Thrones,
yes,
maybe the first season.
like the
I'm
later
finding
seasons.
multiple stuff
Really?
here.
I don't.
Each episode's around 20, at least 25 million.
Then
That's what they're
they
saying.
suck. I don't know where that money
This is
went.
multiple episodes.
That's baffling to me.
We'll see.
That is absolutely baffling.
But if they are getting 25 million an episode and it looks that bad, then that's
Mandalorian
And
didn't
then
look
here,
bad at
this
all.
is a
Mandalorian
total
had a good budget.
series.
I think the
was
series.
giving 90 million as a series. So when they say at least 25 million, it doesn't mean each episode is 25 million. They're saying that
you can
at
see
least
where.
25 million.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah,
some
I bet-
episodes
I bet
could have
you
used
and-
25 million in their
I
budget.
bet
the
you
last
took up a
episode-
hefty
That's what I heard
fucking
is
fee.
90.
I thought the last episode looked good.
It is
besides-
dark. It's just dark because it's.
They
cheaper
might have
on
used
the
25 on the
CG.
first and the last, and then the
I would say
I
I
know.
would say
I
I would say
can't believe it.
25 on the second episode. The second episode has probably more budget than any of the other episodes, just based on the location alone.
I
I mean, what was it? The 3rd or 4th episode where they clearly were like, "All right, guys, we got to film on location. We're
They
low
did a
budget.
construction site.
Can we go in the backyard?" Like, everybody's
That's what I'm saying.
outside.
It was a blue screen mess. It just, yeah.
So they were in Robert Rodriguez's backyard with the toys.
Oh
making
yeah,
the
they did that
episode.
again. They
Robert
just,
comes out and
they
says,
just
"Hey, can I
rented
film
out
this?"
some rich producer's fucking back lot.
I
Like,
want to pose you guys a question, and you're gonna agree with me, but I want us to all put it on our thinking caps and try to think of something. If we remove episode 4 from this show, completely remove it, and at the end of episode 3, Leia doesn't get captured, and they put the tracker in the droid at the end of episode 3, does anything change?
hang on. I need you to repeat the question again.
So we remove episode 4 from the story, where they go to the Fortress Inquisitors. We remove that.
Yes.
And at the end of episode 3, Leia doesn't get captured. She just simply goes with Obi-Wan and Tala, and they put the tracker in the droid at the end of episode 3. Does anything change about the story?
Yes.
No.
We would.
Why?
We wouldn't see Wade's death.
Oh,
fuck
rest
you.
Rest in peace.
Oh my god. Oh,
I love
Rest
that
in peace,
meme.
Wade.
man, I know it was a joke on Twitter for a little bit, but did Wade have a line or anything?
Who
that
was
gave
Wade?
significance?
Yeah, he's
Okay.
Who is Wade?
Yeah, he's like, come on, let's get out of here, and then he got blown up.
Okay, because when I saw on Twitter people being like, "Oh no, Wade died," like I thought it was like, oh, like people like actually cared about this, and then I watched the show. I'm like, this, who the fuck is Wade? Like it's no like that.
you're
That is what's
such a
baffling
boomer
about
for
this.
someone
series.
who's
I
23.
am a fucking boomer. I mean, it's ridiculous, but like stuff like this, where it's like. It literally makes you go like, what is going on with this
Bro,
fucking
who
show?
is
you
Wade,
make
and
a
why
good
are people
point, Goldman.
crying about this guy?
I mean, he has a
yeah.
point. Not much. I mean, other than like cool things like saying, "Oh, they got all these Jedi entombed."
I'll say
but-
one thing.
Other than that, there really wasn't much in this episode. It just seemed like
It was
just a
awful.
connecting thread.
I would say, because I'm gonna be, since we're asking, I would say this episode is mainly important to see Obi-Wan's growth as a Jedi. That's it. so there is a nice bridge.
He holds an entire ocean from coming in. I mean, yeah, we got.
That's pretty sick, and
Okay.
he's spinning his lightsaber
Okay.
like a goofball.
Sure,
Yeah, I
but
think
So
you're
that's-
justifying an entire episode of this budget of a big.
Hey,
series
I didn't say I'm
for, like,
justifying. I
one
didn't say I'm
scene.
justifying it. Goldman said, "What would change?" That would be it.
That's
I'm
somewhat
telling you,
fair.
They're gonna
nothing
pop that
would.
scene in another
Nothing-
episode.
Somewhat fair.
Yeah, nothing of
Possibly.
significance. I think that's
Oh,
a big
sure,
issue
sure.
with the series is that like you look over the course of all 6 episodes, how many do you feel like are absolutely integral? I feel like you could. I know someone's going to do it. You can fan edit this motherfucker down to 2 to 3 hours of nothing with Reva and just Obi-Wan and Kenobi, and probably have a better story because of it. I really feel that because the show,
100%.
like the first 2 episodes are like, all right, we need it's something with Leia and Obi-Wan. Oh, okay, interesting. And then Reva slowly becomes a little bit more important, and then Leia, the poor little brat, gets pushed to the fucking side. You got the Marvel guy coming in every 3 or
The
4
Marvel
scenes.
guy. Oh man,
I don't know
What?
his fucking name.
He was in the second episode, and then he was in the 5th episode, and in one scene in the last one.
No, he's integral. He helped Leia in the vents. You don't understand this, Goldman. He in the
What are you
last
talking
episode,
about?
remember the fucking the fake Jedi. And he's like,
Rogan? Rogan didn't. No,
no,
his name
that's
was
racist,
Haja.
Goldman. That's
Haja
racist.
did not
Mixed
do.
with-
Haja did not help out Leia in the vents. What are you talking about?
He
That
was
was
sitting
Rogan.
there and he was talking her through the thing. You know, he was like
Was?
that important scene where Tala dies and Kenobi is reflecting on her death, and it's supposed to be traumatic. In the background, you hear him go, "Leia, are you
Oh,
almost done?" Hey,
So,
she
so
said
this,
she's
so this,
almost
so you're
done.
saying this guy in the background was too integral to the story?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I dislike
It's
that.
like-
At
it's
the,
like-
I dislike
Come on,
that in
only-
this last episode.
You have such bad
I-
takes. Oh my god.
Oh, I absolutely do. But
Only
I
with the
dislike
L.
that he's like, what did he say in this final episode where he's like, I talked to Leia for you, like she's
He
calm
goes,
now.
"You're
And I'm like,
welcome."
yeah, it's like, what? Who the fuck is this guy? Get him out of
It's
here.
ironic, but it's very Marvel-y, irony.
That's
He's
yeah,
from
it's
Marvel,
very
you know,
Marvel-esque,
it
and I
is.
can't stand it for that. All right, it's stuff like that in the series where I'm like, are we trying here? Do we understand how serious we all take Kenobi as a character? I guess we don't. We're just gonna, hee ha ha with this whole.
I don't know.
thing.
Only I
I'm so
think you're
confused.
nitpicking, man. You're
think
stretching
Yeah,
this.
damn right, I'm nitpicking. This is supposed to be
Okay.
an important series, and
It is
I feel
important.
like it wasn't taken
Okay,
seriously at all.
only. Is The Mandalorian season 1 a good show?
Yes.
A lot of those episodes you could remove and like nothing would change.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, there's certain ones.
I'm not
like,
excusing it. I'm just saying we gotta be consistent.
But the difference is those episodes are fun. They're enjoyable. They're simple, fun Star Wars
I liked
adventures.
episode 4.
There's only one
they
filler
look
episode
good.
this season. There's one. Like, yeah, it was bad. I agree.
I don't know. I think the
Like-
second episode was a filler as well. I just
No,
like
it
that.
wasn't.
No,
They
I
mean, I don't know,
They
like, here,
established
let me-
Leia and
let-
Obi-Wan's relationship. That was crucial.
that's the whole thing is with Leia. Yeah, you can't.
Again, here's the thing. We keep saying, oh, well, this episode did this. We need that because it did this. But there's a way to condense that, right?
Sure,
There's a way to take those things and weave them into the part of the story to either make this a very tight, good story with 4 episodes, or tighten it up over the 6 episodes and add more shit to make the characters more relevant in those 6 episodes. You like when we talk about that 4th episode, it's like, oh, this part is important, sure, but you took almost an hour episode for just that one part to matter, and it's like you could have did so much more with everything else, and you didn't. It almost felt like
Yes.
that's what you needed to
Which-
do, and you just
which-
put all this other fluff around it. And even the pilots, it was giving me, like, again, I know some people are gonna hate me. It was giving me Last Jedi fucking flashbacks, okay, when with the fighter pilots the way they were, and it was like I was
Even the last,
waiting
like,
for her
5
to
minutes?
do the. I was waiting for her to give me the line of it's not about killing those you hate, it's about those you love, or whatever bullshit.
Oh,
She slipped
yeah.
with that line. Come on, Lunga.
Okay, it was just so and then, again, we joked about it when we saw it, the whole thing with the comical girl under the coat thing and her walking through the
Yeah, okay.
the fucking thing.
I feel like
That
we
was
need to
bad.
establish something. Besides the 4th episode, are we talking about like other stuff in the series?
There's a few. Episode 1 and 2 could have been combined into one.
Yeah, did
You
you really need that
didn't
Leia
necessarily
chase
need-
scene?
That chase scene lasted 2 minutes, maybe.
That,
Maybe
okay,
one.
that chasing was awful.
Okay,
It was
it doesn't
awful.
matter.
It-
2 minutes is a long time in a show and in a film. All right, 2 minutes.
But there's a lot of stuff.
That's time to not
You
waste.
could have taken the important stuff from 1 and 2 and put them all into one episode. You
I
could
think
have
it would've been
You
rushed.
guys are giving me
This is a
Rise of
great thought, too.
Skywalker
What the
vibes.
fuck
'Cause That's
happened to the
exactly
fifth
how
one
Rise
and
of
fourth
Skywalker.
I think you guys want breakneck pacing, and no, like besides the 4th episode,
It's not that.
the-
It's not that I want breakneck pacing. It's give me a good story and give it to me without too much fluff.
I know,
Yeah,
you're not
Or
telling me what
if
this
you're
fluff
committed,
is.
if you're committed to 6 episodes, then don't give me an entire episode of fluff that has 2 minutes of important shit.
I agree.
Make that episode
4th
count.
episode. I'm talking about the other ones because we're talking about 5 episodes here that I think mattered.
Well, even
Yes,
if,
a
even,
few
even,
things
even
could have
episode
been cut.
3, like no, but
Like
even
what?
with episode
I'll disagree
episode
on
2
3.
as well, like the rescue thing with Leia. I mean, episode 3, I think was, I mean, it's fine, but they go to another planet. The fluff to me is also the fake Jedi stuff in episode 2. There's a lot of things about the series upon rewatch that I go, oh, this is a little bit forgetful. There's a lot of things that you go like, I don't.
Yeah.
This is like when I think of like good setup and good pacing, like I don't want breakneck pacing. One of the best things that Empire Strikes Back did was whenever it takes like 30 minutes for the first battle to really start, and you see the walkers, the AT-AT walkers slowly making their way towards the base. It builds up that tension for the battle to come. You don't really get anything like that in Star Wars anymore at all. and that's fine. Times change and whatnot, and that was a different budget back then. But stuff like that slow pace really builds up to anticipation and delivers on a great battle, the Battle of Hoth. You don't get anything remotely like that. The closest thing you had was similar to what they did in The Last Jedi with Crate, and that's the 5th episode where all these big stormtroopers show up, and it's been like 3 minutes of fast pace, like, oh, we're gonna get together, everybody get in line, you're in position. Blah, 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 blah. There's influencers over there. We're gonna shout them out, and they'll get the fucking guns, point at the wall, like stuff like that.
You wouldn't even know there were influencers if
here. Here, let me give you an example of how you're not. They took 2 things that they repeated twice that made this last way longer than each. Okay, we got 2 chase scenes with Leia, right? She was chased twice.
The first one was unnecessary.
Like a minute. Okay, but it's Goldman. It's not about that. It's just the fact they did it twice. They just repeated it.
Okay.
Basically.
Yes.
Okay. And then we get last episode when they're being chased through the thing and Kenobi wanted to leave. He's here for me. He's here for me. And like, no, come on. You got to go. No, he's here for me. No, come on. Then we get to the last episode and in the ship, it's the same thing. Oh, he's here for me. I got to leave. He's here for me.
Because they're on the run. Like,
no, but they just repeated the same thing twice in 2 episodes.
Well, then you could argue The Empire Strikes Back is basically one entire chase scene.
They should have just had him turn himself in like he did, and then fuck that whole beginning half of the first episode of them in the ship and Leia trying to fix it with the droid and shit. Or not the ship, the base, wherever they were trying to escape. Screw all that shit. Okay, when they were breaking in, that took way too long. It was unnecessary.
But you guys were just talking about how, like in Empire Strikes Back, it takes 30 minutes to get to the fight, right? Because you do have to build up that suspension and stuff.
We're not talking about a movie though. Here, we're talking about almost 6 hours of a series.
It's not 6 hours. It's like maybe 4.
I said almost 6 hours.
Get the fuck out of here.
I would not consider
it's 6 episodes, an hour a piece. All right.
They're like,
hey, only you were being real picky earlier. So.
I'm nitpicking on the fucking the elements of it, what's in the show, not the timeline.
I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you guys.
It doesn't have to be like Game of Thrones where it spends like 6 seasons building up to a fucking night in Winterfell, and then it all gets done in one 30-minute arc.
You could afford to do this nonsense if this was a planned 3-season series, that this whole story was going to take 3 seasons. Okay. Then you could put all that fluff in there and all that other shit, but you're not. You're trying to tell this whole story in these 6 episodes, right? Make those 6 episodes count. Don't give me almost an entire episode of nonsense that really doesn't.
That's where I feel like the series
with chapter 4. I'd agree.
I don't think the series is going to age well because of these kind of small instances. I don't think the highlights of this series are enough to overshadow just kind of how boring it is in general. I mean, the buzz around the series is the fan service shit.
People hype up Rogue One all the time, and like 2/3 of that movie is dangerously boring.
People hype up Rogue One on Twitter. All right, that's about it.
I like Rogue One. A
lot of my friends, like, they trigger me so much, like, because they know how much I love the sequels. So like, Rogue One's the best Disney Star Wars movie. They say it all the time. So I disagree. It's not just people on Twitter.
It is. The writing of Rogue One
I like this
is 10 times better than the writing of The Last Jedi.
Failed troll attempt. You're not getting me.
20 times better than The Rise of Skywalker.
Like I said, no. Hold on. I took 4 weeks off. I'm taking another vacation.
I'm about to do some real math here to get the actual length of the series, excluding credits and the opening.
Hey, you can't say no.
It's gonna be like 4 hours and 10 minutes or something.
Yeah.
So let's see. There's on average about 2 minutes of opening credits, and then on average about.
Oh, wait, you're doing the math live here?
No, I'm gonna start talking. All right, listen.
Okay, so
I think we can all agree that this should have simply been a movie.
Wait. I ask you this. Would you prefer it be a movie, or would you prefer, this is a gamble, it's either black or red, we're gambling here. What are you going to bet on? Black is you get to pick it to be a movie. Red, you get the original scripts that Hossein Amini did the first time around.
I'm telling you right now, if we're sticking with the characters involved as they are, I would not have wanted this movie, because they would have had to cut out so much Obi-Wan stuff to make that Reva stuff matter.
I disagree. I think they would have cut out Reva.
I guess.
I was about to say, I think they would have cut out Reva in this, because they would. Because I mean, gee, how do you? It's like having Solo a Star Wars story, and then half of the fucking movie is about Boba Fett. You're like, I mean,
that's why I said if they made this as with the characters as they are, if they're using the same characters.
Excluding credits and both opening and ending, this show is not even 4 hours long.
Really? How long?
It's 232 minutes, which is just under 4 hours. So
Just
3 hours,
under, I mean,
52 minutes.
Oh, come on. That's 4 hours. All right. 8
Yeah, I said
minutes.
it.
Oh
is
God, I
going
was
to get
close.
snapped.
I said like 4 hours and 10
No,
minutes. I was off by 10
you're saying
minutes.
6 hour long episodes. You
And
weren't
right before
even-
you're doing the math, I go, it's going to be like 4 hours or something.
Yes,
And that's
yes.
exactly what.
There's a big difference between 4 and 6 hours, like gigantic.
Whatever. And you know what? 4 hours is a long time for a fucking movie.
Mm-hmm.
Excluding the fifth episode or the fourth episode, that brings it to what? 3 hours?
All right. Well, they've been talking about a possibility of a season 2 and about how, there's interest in it and everything. After what you have seen, do you want a second season of Kenobi? I'm going to start the ball rolling anticlimactically and say abso-fucking-lutely not. Lunga,
Well,
do you want a second season?
No.
Okay.
Unequivocally, no.
Yeah. Palpamemes, you want a second season?
No, I like this ending.
Oh, okay. That's a better take. What about you, Goldman? I know the answer.
Well, the way you phrased this question was, after having seen the show, do you want a second season? I never wanted a
Well, of
second
course.
season.
That's facts.
Oh,
though.
yes.
So-
Yes,
Facts.
understandable. But I'm just
So no.
saying, like, is this first season enough to make you go, I want to see what's next?
There didn't. There
I
just
want-
be
you know what I
something
want?
next because
I-
it's a concluded story.
I want,
from
like,
start to finish.
I want a mini
But-
movie of like
but
20
that's-
minutes where Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon talk about just like, yo,
Okay,
you told me
podcast?
Anakin was-
That's-
you told me
That's
I
what
would like a
Goldman's
podcast,
getting me.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what
Like,
Goldman's
I don't
getting
want a
with
whole
me
other
in
season.
the
I
sense
just
of,
want
like,
10 minutes. You know, where Obi-Wan's
the,
like, bro,
the way
you
they
told me
ended
it
this
was the chosen
season
one.
is how I wanted the show to start. I wanted this entire series to be a character study of Kenobi, his reflection on Vader and his past. I didn't even care if they had a rematch, honestly, but I wanted to see Obi-Wan train again in the ways of the Force with Qui-Gon. He doesn't have to be in every episode. He can be in the first and the
So
last one. He
boring.
can literally say, "Hey, how is that boring?
What
How is that
would
boring?
the
It
what would
wasn't
the
boring when
plot
Yoda
be?
did it.
He did it for 4 episodes
Fuck,
in an
I don't know.
animated show.
I'm not writing it. It could be a movie for all you know. All right, it can work.
So
All right, like there are ways.
Talk about Star Wars.
That's
Talk
not-
about low
I'm
budget.
saying-
Only,
and
I'll be
small
honest,
scale.
that gives me Boba Fett vibes.
How?
Like,
Boba
how-
Fett
what
wasn't
could-
even a character
how
study
much-
about him.
How much could you do with
was a
just
character
Obi-Wan
arc
studying
study.
the Force? A movie of him 2
2
has to be
hours
a
worth?
conflict.
Can you not?
There has
can
to
you
be
not
some
do 2
conflict. There has
hours?
to be like an antagonist where there has to be some sort of plot of like where he struggles to do something. Like, do you
Okay,
just
but
wanted a
how
movie
does
where
this
he
not
learns how to
work?
do
No,
How
no,
does
no, no,
this
no.
not
This was the right conclusion. This was the right
work?
conclusion. Now he
But
spends the
Luke
next
being
9
on
years.
Dagobah for half of Empire Strikes
He
Back. How's
communes
that
with
wrong?
Qui-Gon, learns more about the Force to prepare for what he's going to do with Luke later. That's all that happens in these next 9 years. He's peacefully
Yes.
being the hermit that he was supposed to be.
I love
And
that.
to call back to something you said at the beginning, you guys were saying like, you mentioned how some people were like saying they regressed him just to bring him back. Again, I think Star Wars only said that, which is
No, I
not
did
really
not
if you
say
think
that.
about it, because like
I said
he was in shock. He was in shock at the end of Revenge of the Sith, and then over 10 years he was dwelling on this, and it was just
Mhm.
eating away. So that's the depression was real, and it was good. I like that. That worked great.
I love that too.
So for me, I'm good with these next 9 years of him now being in this piece. He's had his closure.
Good word.
He understands, and now he has Qui-Gon, and now it's going to be him growing into that, Alex Guinness position, which I don't need to see anything with that. I don't need it.
I agree. Yeah, that wonderfully said.
No, I don't want to see him become Alec Guinness. I just want to see him yet again become a little bit more one with the Force. I would like to it's to me it's the perfect follow up. Yoda literally being like, training I have for you, your old master. He learned to go into the netherworld of the Force. Qui-Gon. It didn't have to be the entire fucking show about him.
How about
learning
this?
the
Let's
ways
have
of
some
the Force and
animated
training
shorts
in it. It could just
of him
simply
talking
be
to Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon being
Yes.
like, "Hey, you have to do this."
Yes, I would like that. Or a
Yeah,
book.
put it in
Animated
Tales of
shorts.
the Jedi.
I would
I'll be
love a
happy
Tales
with
of the
that.
Jedi 3. Oh, look,
No,
another reason why
no.
Tales of the Jedi
This-
shouldn't
this-
just be the
this
damn
is-
prequels.
This deserves
So we
something.
can everyone talking to. No, it doesn't. Like, I want a part of a story to be that, sure, but not an entire story.
Well, no, but this comment summarizes how I feel about it. Star Wars did used to be mystical, and it's feeling processed food at this point. Like, I want some mysticism in Star Wars again. This entire series, I got nothing about it, which is fine. I didn't need the series to specifically be about the mysticism of the Force. I'm just saying I would have liked it to have something where Obi-Wan is training. The plot could have been him versus the fucking Hutts, or him doing something else, saving the people of Tatooine, literally anything else. But the story could have been him training to become one with the Force. Now I don't know when he completes that, except after fucking season 1 apparently. But if they do that in season 2, that's my issue, is that it's like, oh, you're giving me what I wanted far after the fact, and also you've introduced all this other shit in season 1 that feels like a convoluted mess to intertwine with the original trilogy. Like sometimes I feel like sometimes they go above and beyond to try to connect things.
I guess I can't argue with what you wanted from the show, but to me, seeing a show about Obi-Wan being depressed and coming to terms with his guilt and overcoming that is infinitely more interesting than him training with the Force.
But he didn't do that. That's the thing. Is like,
of course he did.
Not really.
Obi-Wan is a completely different person from the first.
Oh
and
no,
last
it was
episode.
okay. This I have to push back on that. Star Wars Only. He had an actual arc. You saw the change.
No, he did have
episode. You
an
saw
arc.
the change.
I'm just saying that
he
like
went
the entire
from
series wasn't about him
not
being
wanting to
depressed
deal
and
with any of the shit.
like reflecting on anything.
Yeah, because they focused on some other things that they shouldn't have. But in terms of Obi-Wan's story, what they did with him personally, that's what it was about.
He wasn't depressed and reflecting. He was depressed at a dead end and shut down.
Which is even worse, which I like.
That's the whole point. He was shut down. He didn't want to think about anything. He didn't want to.
That's the highlight of the series, Obi-Wan specifically. But that wasn't the whole story of the entire series. It was just
he was haunted by nightmares, if anything.
Yeah,
you've got separate stuff.
The first episode and the last episode of the series are some of the greatest that you could get from a Star Wars show. But everything in the middle, the meat of this fucking show, it's all tainted. It is rotten.
Middles was the meat. I feel like the first and last episodes were the most important episodes.
Yeah, but that's the bread, man. That's the top and that's the bottom. You know,
I think it's a little bit of a different. I don't think the analogy works here when the first and last episodes are far more important than what happened in the middle.
I got in the comments. David Sakamoto apparently is not happy that Obi-Wan had to be shut down. David, I'm going to tell you right now. That's the one thing all four of us agree on. We wanted to see him.
It would not make sense for him to not be that way.
Hey, man, when you get older, David.
No, like this is what really bugs me.
You get depressed, man. You want to see other motherfuckers. Goldman, this is a channel to get frustrated on.
I know it is. It's just like
our feelings. I want you to get mad at me.
I'm going to bring up a sensitive topic, and we're not going to debate it. I just want to bring something up because I'm trying to make a point. I understood why so many people were upset that with Luke in The Last Jedi, he was depressed. No, I'm not debating it. I'm making a point that's unrelated. I understood why a lot of people were upset to see him depressed because that was just the end of his story. You know, you want to see something else. I get it. At this point in the story, I don't understand how people can expect Obi-Wan to be anything but extremely depressed after what happened in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
So, like, Longa, you missed the point.
Sorry, David. David's just getting
Longa, you missed the point I was saying. I'm not making an argument for The Last Jedi. I'm saying I understand people's criticisms of that movie. I understand why people wouldn't want to see Luke depressed in that movie. I do not understand why people would not want to see Obi-Wan depressed in this show.
Sure. Well, just not to trigger anyone, Goldman. Again, the problem isn't that Luke was depressed.
We're not debating this. We're not debating. I'm not.
It's how he expressed that depression.
There are some people that were.
Let's say Obi-Wan was so depressed about what happened with Anakin that when he went to bring that little paper airplane to Luke, he ignited his lightsaber over him because he's going to turn like his father. And he's like, no, wait, I can't do that.
You saw Anakin.
This is my point. You just completely missed my point. Absolutely, completely. It's like not even in the same room. You're here. My point is here. It's just not even close.
Oh, I thought it was pretty good sense, I thought.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh
my God. Well, okay, so the series is over in our minds. The entire Obi-Wan series is absolutely done. We don't want a second season. We have said that. But we got the 6 episodes. We've all kind of digested it. We've said our thoughts on the finale and kind of the series as a whole.
I think you're bugging out, dude.
Yeah, we're losing you.
We hear like every other second.
But what was your overall opinion? All right, well, I'll let you take over longer. I can't say shit. I'm gone. I can see my Wi-Fi shit dropping like a motherfucker. I love it.
Reset that router, buddy.
All right.
Reset that router. Did anybody get what he was saying?
I can't do
what the question
I
was?
think he was trying to ask us what our overall thoughts.
Got a fucking thing. Yeah, just give me your overall fucking thoughts. I before I fucking lag out, I give this series a 6 out of 10. I thought it was mid at best. It had a lot of great highlights, But like I said earlier, you know, it has two good parts in the sandwich, but the rest is absolutely just meh to me. All right, this isn't a series I predict myself rewatching in the future that often. It's not a series I'm gonna really think about. It's exactly what I thought it was going in. It's fan service to the fucking max, and
Oh
all
my
the prequel
God.
fans got their dicks hard because of it.
Except all the people fans are triggered, so
Completely disagree with him on that. It wasn't fan service. I thought it told the story of what we wanted to see with Obi-Wan very well. It added a lot of depth to his connection to Anakin and to what Anakin has become now, Darth Vader. It gave us closure for Obi-Wan. As far as Obi-Wan and even Vader's, it gave us so much more depth. It gave us what the Vader comics have been doing, right? It gave us that now in live action, and we haven't really. I mean, if you think about it, how many times in live action have we seen Vader duel? I mean, we saw him duel Obi-Wan in New Hope, right? That lasted 2 seconds, okay, and then we saw him fighting Luke in the original trilogy. That's it, okay. Then in Rogue One, it wasn't a duel; he was just slaughtering people, right? This was the first time we got to see him actually fight, and the choreography was so good, and the interactions between them and the link. That was so great. For me, the Obi-Wan parts with Vader throughout the whole series was a 9 out of 10. That's how fucking good it was to me. But not because of Reva, because I was intrigued by Reva, but where it went from episode 5 and 6, from there with her arc, and how the Grand Inquisitor just pops up, hey, hello, he just, Crispy just shows up out of nowhere.
Hello.
I got 2 stomachs. Hey, he just shows up out of nowhere. That dropped it to me from a 9 to a 7. But it has nothing to do with the main storyline. I thought the main storyline served the purpose it was meant to do. But that other stuff, and this is a nitpicky stuff. The nitpicky stuff is the Leia not knowing who he is, and that was kind of nitpicky. But I don't feel they did a new character that I'm assuming they want me to enjoy. They had me in the first 3 to then 4. Episode 4 was kind of eh. And then they dropped it off because they didn't give me anything to care about this character anymore. With that, they really didn't. So that's what hurt it for me. So that's why I ended up at a 7. I gotta say this: when it comes to TV series, I rarely rewatch. I haven't rewatched Mandalorian. Movies I'll rewatch depending on the movie, but television shows, series, I don't really rewatch them. So I can't add.
I'll see. I can rewatch Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Apple memes.
I'll YouTube certain scenes that I liked, and I'll just watch those. That's about it. I won't watch the whole series again.
Yeah, I'm with.
Now, I have watched the whole series if it's something like I watched The Sopranos again recently, but that was because I hadn't seen it in a decade or whatever. So it's like so long, that I watched the whole thing again. But yeah, I don't rewatch it. But yeah, I ended up at like 7 out of 10, mostly because of what happened in the last couple episodes.
Firm but fair. Firm. That's a good rating.
Yeah, I'm with only with Mandalorian. I don't really rewatch season 1 except for the last 2 episodes because those are phenomenal. But season 2, I could really put on pretty much any episode from season 2 and just have a good time simply as a fan because it's fan service, the TV show. Let's be honest. Still love it though. But with this, I pretty much agree with all 3 of you all, which is weird. It usually doesn't happen, but I pretty much agree with all of your points simultaneously in weird ways. Okay. I wanted one thing from this show, so maybe I'm biased, and that one thing was Obi-Wan going through a beautiful arc of overcoming his failures and his trauma, right, and PTSD. If there was one thing that I wanted, it was that, and I'm very happy I got it in the way that we did. It was phenomenal. Now, the stuff with Reva, I do like. I was intrigued by it. It's unique. It's different, all right? But I do agree with Lunga that the concept is there, the execution is kind of out of whack, and it does take away a lot. Sometimes from Kenobi's story. But I'm not one of those guys to say she shouldn't have been in the show at all, because I do think there are important plot situations that she obviously has to be there. She's kind of the middle person between Kenobi and Vader. You need that. But I enjoyed the show from start to finish. My least favorite episode is still it's either episode 3 or 4. I know, Lunga, I think you loved episode 3, if I recall correctly.
This is pretty good.
It didn't really work for me, but I didn't think it was awful. I don't think any of these episodes were bad or awful. So I'm going to give the score 7.6 out of 10.
I love the
That's just his way of
It
saying
is 7.5.
I liked it a little bit better than you guys.
Yeah, I think I was a little more nice to it, but yeah,
It passes
7.6
the
out of
test,
10.
but it's not a good pass.
It's above average.
I'm gonna give my turn best for last. I'm gonna give 2 scores here. There's my objective analysis, which means just I'm removing a bias. How do I think of this as a 6-episode show? So there's my objective rating and my Disney shill rating, which means am I just happy as a Star Wars fan? As an objective analysis of this series, I'd probably give it around a 7, maybe 6.5. I think they did a good job with Obi-Wan, but again, the Reva stuff did drag it down a little bit, and there was a lot of execution problems along the way. The music wasn't great. The cinematography could have been better at times. A lot of execution problems, but I think the story was well done. So from an objective analysis, I would give it around a 7, 6.5. I'll say 7. Final score 7. My Disney shill rating, I'm probably going to give it like an 8.5, maybe a 9. Because at the end of the day, I just wanted to, similar to Babel memes, I just wanted to see a powerful character arc with Obi-Wan, and that's what I got. So I'm happy. So I don't care really if Reva's story wasn't that good, because I got what I wanted from the show. So actually, I'm going to give my Disney shill rating is going to be a 9. So, but if I had to give an overall rating, it'd be a 7. I'm very happy with the series. Could have been better, but I personally am happy, and I will probably be rewatching this very soon.
God, Goldman's what I hate about the fandom. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I unmute myself? Anyways, no. Okay. Well, we all feel a little different about the series going forward. I'm really curious if they will do a season 2, just because, geez, like I'm sure the numbers on this were crazy good.
Well, we know they were.
Yeah.
Well, it was like I predicted. Episode
The most
1
viewed, I think,
was the most watched
1 and
Disney
2.
Plus show ever. 1 and 2. Okay, yeah. And I predicted that like last year. I'm like, this is going to be the most watched.
Well,
Disney
3
show.
through 6 we have no numbers on, but I would
Right,
imagine they're doing pretty well for themselves, which is hilarious and
Yeah,
ironic
'cause
considering the
I'll
budget.
be honest, even people that weren't super happy just what they got with episode 3 with the Vader stuff, there was people that are going to stick around to the end.
Yeah.
Just to see that.
I mean,
it's just
there's
like
like
people who hated the
4,
prequels
like-
who went to see Revenge of the Sith because they had to see the fight.
No, there's like
Yeah,
4 or
you have
5
to see the
guys at
end.
the gym I talked to about this show, just casually, just like, bro, so the Kenobi, like we kept up with it every Wednesday, and they'd come up and talk to me about it. So that's how popular the show is.
No.
Oh, same thing at work. Although people triggered.
Oh, and what's O'Shea Jackson's character's name? Roken, right?
Roken.
Yeah.
He's definitely going to be an Andor. I bet you guys anything he's going to be an Andor.
You're probably right. Yeah.
Because that line he gave to him, "You're a leader, help these people." He's going to be one of the leaders in Andor,
I
guaranteed.
can see it.
That
believe
makes
it.
sense. All right. Well, we promised you guys at the end of the show we're going to go over any super chats that you guys did or did not give throughout the stream. So the first one we have from Star Wars Timeline. He says, "Love the conversation, guys. Question to all: which director understands Star Wars story DNA the best? Favreau, Filoni, J.J. Abrams, Ryan Johnson, Ron Howard." Geez,
It's close
Understands-
between Filoni and Ryan Johnson.
Look at you just slipping your answer.
Why
in before.
Filoni?
Well,
Filoni.
Favreau.
man.
Had his
That's-
hand up.
That's a
man.
hard one. That's
I even had my hand up.
Lunga
Yeah,
deserves
yeah.
number
I'll
1.
I'll let Lunga take that first. Then, what do you got to say, Lunga?
Of the 4, Favreau.
Okay.
Favreau. The reason why, because Favreau, he understands. I mean, in a way, with the exception of Filoni, J.J. Abrams, Ryan Johnson, and Ryan Howard obviously understand movie making, especially Ron Howard. Okay,
I was about to say, I'm
understand
surprised
movie making.
you guys aren't like being favorable to Ron Howard. I almost want to pick
Well,
him just
they
because.
said understand. No, but the question is, understand Star Wars DNA. Did what Ron Howard did really understand Star Wars DNA? I don't
to be
think
fair,
so.
I feel like he added a lot
reshot
of
a
Star Wars
movie.
DNA to Solo. Yeah, all he did was reshoot a movie. I feel like if he got his own, I mean, especially with Bryce Dallas Howard, his daughter, doing Solo, the Star Wars
Yeah.
episode she does, I would not be surprised if Ron Howard could make a young, fun action
Well,
adventure.
We got to
in
base
Star
it on
Wars.
what we saw, right? And a credit
Yeah,
that
that's
Ron
a good
Howard
point.
has,
That's a good
being
point, yeah.
reshooting or not, is Solo. So that's what we
Yeah.
got to go with. I would say Favreau, just because The Mandalorian specifically has given us a lot of feels for the original trilogy and given us the Star Wars feels, with also giving us something new going forward. You know what I mean? So that's why I feel he understands the DNA the best. Filoni, I love Filoni, but we know Filoni, right? We know where he could go. He's like Lucas Reborn, and he thinks he knows better than anyone else, and sometimes it doesn't go the right way. Favreau is his Kirshner, right? So that's why I say Favreau. JJ, we listen. JJ's great, but to his own admission, he knows how to start things. He doesn't know how to finish them. So that's why JJ can't do it. As far as Ryan Johnson, he's too much of a maverick. If you want to give him Star Wars stuff, it's got to be in a segment of the galaxy that no one has told stories about before. Knock your socks off. Do whatever you want. Have fun.
I'm with Lunga. I'm picking Favreau, just based off of, because we're talking about director as well. He directed the first episode of season 2, and it was great. It does give me the original trilogy Star Wars feel. It does seem like he has a grasp of not what people want, but what people need from Star Wars. New, fun, side stories, but still progressing our characters in unique ways. So that's my pick before my fucking connection drops out. Palpamemes, who do you got?
So, for like Star Wars story DNA, Favreau, I think that's kind of an easy one. Though I do think he falls too much in the Filoni trap, which is fan service over critically good story at first. And someone is asking above, what's so wrong about fan service? There's nothing wrong about fan service. It's execution of fan service. The biggest issue with fan service is it's a kind of it's a very cheap way of writing. It's very easy to write a fan service story. Any of us here in this chat, any of us can just write a story based on fan service. But I don't think Filoni's bad. I just think he falls too hard on that. But Favreau himself alone, I would be fine with him kind of running things because he definitely gets it. I know that's a cliche thing to say it, but there is kind of a reason why it's cliche. As for visuals of Star Wars and the look, J.J. Abrams, no doubt. That man can direct, dude. That guy can work a camera. I love his camera style and his cinematography. And you just look back at The Force Awakens, and even Episode 9 had some phenomenal sequences of shots and all that.
You like how he tried to highlight The Force Awakens as the main reason, not Episode 9?
Yeah.
Episode 9.
Episode 9 has phenomenal cinematography.
Yeah, please zoom in on Daisy Ridley's face a little harder.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Can't get more of that.
I want to see that zit next to her left nostril.
The man can direct. He knows his long shots and everything, and the way he films action scenes. The man can direct. There's no denying that. The color grading, it had nothing to do with him. We can talk about the rise of blue all day. That wasn't even them. In fact, we know from the editor herself. She said that the film was ripped away from her in November, and Disney changed a bunch of crap. So
he can direct if it's a standalone movie story. If it's a standalone movie story,
I'm talking strictly camera work, visuals. His directing is probably my favorite.
I like how we're talking about directing here. Like, who understands the Star Wars DNA best with directing? And I think
part of Star Wars is the visuals.
I know, but we're acting like George Lucas was some amazing director, which he wasn't.
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't. No.
So we're talking about.
Question. That's why I made the comment of Filoni is Lucas. He needs Favreau as his Kirshner.
I know, but we're talking. Okay, but
not.
We would agree that whatever. Okay, we can agree what's the best in terms of filmmaking. Before arguing what's the pure Star Wars DNA, that's whatever George Lucas has done.
Ryan Johnson.
No, I'm saying Dave Filoni. Like, if you said he's George Lucas reborn, how could you not say that's the purest form of Star Wars DNA we can get then?
What I mean by George Lucas reborn is he has the repository of knowledge that George Lucas does in it, and he has George Lucas' form of storytelling. We know George Lucas is a great storyteller, right? Mm-hmm. He's a storyteller. He comes up with these ideas and these worlds. That's what Filoni is, okay? Mm-hmm. But as far as directing and making a good movie that has all the points that a movie needs to be successful, he doesn't have that. That's why he needs someone like Favreau.
Can we pull up the super chat again? Like, I want to read the wording here.
Oh, Jesus, it was the director with the best like Star Wars DNA. I'm scrolling back up.
Yes, we're not talking about what's the. I agree, Dave Filoni's not the best director. He's probably the worst director on this list.
Understand Star Wars story DNA the best. I still think it's Favreau because Filoni.
We're not even talking about directing. We're just talking about which one of these 5 people best understands Star Wars storytelling. I think it's Dave Filoni.
But once you add the word director, that means not just someone who has the knowledge, but someone who's going to be directing.
Yeah, that changes it to me.
Yeah, but he's not saying
that's what changes it.
Yeah. No, I agree with Goldman. I agree with Goldman. He's talking strictly story.
He's not asking who directed Star Wars the best. He said which of these directors. He's just using director to list a few people. He's not the umbrella. He's not talking about the direction and the directing of Star Wars.
If you take out the word director, who has the most knowledge is Filoni.
Yeah, he's just saying
yes.
You could have phrased.
I doubt that's what the question is.
Director.
but the second he puts director in, I put him in the director role. A director is different from a storyteller. A director is different from someone who does a screenplay. No, you can disagree all you want. It's how it works. Joby Harold is the screenplay writer for the entire Kenobi series, but he's not the director.
If he said
Chow's the director,
which person understands the DNA the best?
No,
that's a whole different context of question.
Even if he said that, I'd still say Favreau better than Filoni.
If you say which storyteller understands Star Wars DNA the best, the question would be exactly the same. What's important was what comes after the understands, not before.
Yeah,
which of these people understands Star Wars story DNA the best? Directing means absolutely nothing.
Yeah, directing means a lot, though. I mean, you can see that.
It does mean something.
Not in terms of this question. Not in terms of this question.
Well, I am factoring that into my response, though. And
you're just not answering the question. You're answering.
Okay, Star Wars timeline. If you're still there, you need to clarify. If not, check it in the comments so we can discuss it next episode.
You're answering a different question. It's like, what's your favorite meat? Ooh, I love fruit.
I think you're rejecting reality, replacing with your own is what I think you're doing.
No, you're not reading the question. You're not reading the question.
Look at we are using a word that's in the question. You are completely discounting the word, pretending it doesn't exist.
If someone asks the question, which Chatooine panelist? Which Chatooine panelist is the most athletic? It is completely irrelevant as to what our thoughts are on Star Wars.
What?
You're just using that as a title to list a few people.
No, because we know they're talking. It's a Star Wars channel talking about Star Wars. We know we're talking about which one of these people know Star Wars DNA the best, who are all involved in Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars story DNA.
You added the descriptor of director. They didn't say writer.
Yes,
they didn't say actor. They didn't say
cinematographer. They didn't say storyteller. They didn't say storyteller. They said director.
They're not all storytellers.
He specifically asked who understands Star Wars story.
Storytelling. Directing is storytelling.
Not
You're taking. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. You were taking. Deborah Chow did not write a single fucking line in Kenobi, but she took the story that Joby Harold, Hossein Amanid, took that and put that in. So to me, when I think of if he would have just said storytelling, I would have kind of responded the same way and probably would have said Favreau. But when he adds director in, I mean, it does. I guess in my response, it doesn't change my opinion, but in my mind, it makes me go, okay, it not only determines the understanding of Star Wars story DNA, but also their directing of the Star Wars story and how they deliver. Okay. Filoni is an inferior director to all other 4 people on this list, and he would admit that himself too, which is fine.
Because the first live action he ever directed was his first episode of Mandalorian.
Exactly.
Okay, so if you want to answer a different question and talk about which is the best director of Star Wars of those lists, then I would say it's very close between Favreau and Rian Johnson.
But that wasn't the question. The question wasn't what he said. It wasn't who's the best director. It's which director in that role understands Star Wars story DNA.
Yes. Jay Filoni understands the Star Wars story DNA.
Who is directing movie shows, meaning, we got these Filoni episodes that he directed. We got these Favreau episodes he directed. We got the Ron Howard movie that he directed.
It's purely a title. We're having an English debate here, not
we are. So why is Ron Howard? Then why is Ron Howard included when all he did was reshoot Solo? Why is Ron Howard included?
He directed the movie. That's why, and he's listing
exactly.
Directors. I know, but the context is not about their directing. It's purely a title. We need Star Wars Salmon. You guys don't.
Someone send him a link to the stream.
Yeah, it's just a title.
You guys don't. It is in terms of context of this sentence. It is just a title, 100%.
No, because Filoni also writes. So does Favreau.
Yes,
that is it's a distinctive title.
Yeah, okay, but we're not talking about their job as a director. We're talking about their job
as
a
director. Wouldn't have been in there.
Yeah, that was my misunderstanding. Is that when he puts director in, I'm like, okay, I'm thinking of these guys like as they direct a Star Wars story, not as a. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'm shitty with the English language. You guys hear me mispronounce so many things on here every fucking show.
That's why I said we're having an English debate, not a Star Wars debate here.
Oh no, yeah, and I will lose that debate every time.
Listen, I still push back. Listen, you can make it say Goldman's better at English than you all you want. I'm not saying that because I still read that sentence the same way. It doesn't change. What he says when he adds the descriptor of director, it means who is best at storytelling, who's in this role. That's what it tells me. Yeah, but because that's a descriptor added. He could because they play multiple roles. They're also writers. So the moment you add director in there, you're being descriptive of a specific role.
I love the comments in the chat.
Thank you.
Okay,
you.
we're done with this English.
The next one is from Matthew Kelly, and it is. Thank you very
the
much,
dumbest
Matthew.
questions, by the way. I love him. Yes, the dumbest questions.
What if they planned to set Reva as Finn's mother?
Oh,
would that even
God.
work timeline-wise? How old would she have to
Whoa.
be?
I mean, she's like
Gee.
19 at most, 19, 20 in this. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is 9 years before A New Hope, and the sequel
could work.
trilogy is 20 years after.
30.
It could work.
30? Oh yeah, she could definitely be his mom.
If she had Finn when she was in her 40s, yeah.
Shit, she might be too old to be his mom at some point. If we're talking
Yeah,
about
you're
that.
not wrong. Not trying to shit on you, Matthew, but that might be racism right there too. If, well, they're black, so they got to be related. I'm like, okay. Not sure if they wanted to go that route. I sure as fuck hope they didn't. Grievous Reborn, shout out to him, says favorite Star Wars game.
Oh, I got it.
Hit
Jedi
us.
Academy. I love that game.
No Lego Star Wars? No Lego Star Wars?
That's me,
Skywalker,
dude.
The Skywalker saga sucked. I'm sorry.
I
hate
did.
that
I
game.
still haven't reviewed
Worst
it yet. I
60,
haven't gotten my
worst
monitor fixed
$60
to
I
play
ever
it.
spent.
Now, this
Oh,
is
fuck.
again. Now this one to me lacks description.
It's not a video game.
Are we no?
Favorite
Are we
Star Wars game.
talking?
It could be Star Wars
yeah.
Monopoly.
It could be any kind of game.
The game.
I'm assuming video game because usually when people ask these questions in 2022, they're talking about video games.
Yeah.
However, are we talking about best gameplay, best story,
What
best
is your
graphics?
favorite? What is your
favorite?
favorite?
Again?
the
Here's the
question.
thing. I
Not
would
best,
say my
not best.
favorite.
Yeah.
My favorite would be Fallen Order. However, I
That's your
can't
answer?
finish the fucking game because I do not play that Dark Souls fucking mechanics. I can't do that shit.
So old. It's not even that hard.
I finished that game in like a week.
Well, listen, I
Put it on the
refuse
lowest
to do it on easy. Okay, I'm not going to do it on easy. I do it in the middle. I always pick the middle one.
Okay,
I don't
fair.
do it on easy. I can't do it on easy. That's
All right,
that makes me feel like
piqued
I'm
my
5 years
interest,
old.
Though. What do you play it on? Like, what makes this so fucking hard? Like, have you tried it on PC?
I played it on
Have you tried-
PlayStation and PC. No, I did it on both.
Oh my god. Maybe get an Xbox controller. That shit's
Now,
easier.
I will say this.
Um,
Now, the game that I did have the looking back that I had the most fun with was Star Killer.
Force Unleashed.
Force Unleashed. That's
And
a
the
fun
second one
That is a
actually, I had
fun
the second one is one I had the most fun with was Force Unleashed 2.
Maybe we can do a whole show on the Force Unleashed one day, but I will say, oddly enough, the second one plays so much better than the first one. Go to hell! And the first one's story is so much better than the second one. It's like night and day how weird that is to me. All right, Goldman, give me your awful take on your favorite Star Wars game.
Now, keep in mind, to provide context here, I have played very
fuck,
few.
Rhea.
I have shut the fuck up. I have played very few Star Wars video games. I've played all of the ones that have come out since Disney bought Star Wars, and the original Lego Star Wars. Those are the only Star Wars games I've played. Yes, that's bad. I know. So, given the games that I have played, the maybe 5 or 6 of them, going with the original Lego Star Wars.
You know what? That's not a bad pick, though. I mean, you can't beat a classic like that. I mean, it is. I do
Just
think
call
you
it a
deserve
classic.
some-
It is a classic.
The original Star Wars game?
100%
The original
a classic.
Lego?
It's like 20 years old.
I've
The original
spoken
Lego
to
Star
people-
Wars game?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Lunga, I've spoken to people who haven't seen the Star Wars movies who have played the original Lego Star Wars game.
Because there are people who play Legos games. They probably have kids and they play it with their kids, and that's why they enjoy it.
And that's why it's a
Yeah.
classic.
But that's why
I
it's a
sat there and
classic
played
one, yeah.
what my kids. What was that fun game? Viva Pinata.
Oh,
I love that game because I played it with my kids
You
when
saw
they were
that,
little.
Goldman. You saw that.
This
that's
last
a
super
classic.
chat's gonna
I'm
trigger
gonna
me.
go. I'm gonna go ahead and head out, guys. It's been nice talking to y'all. Have a good.
All right,
evening.
well, I haven't even
Goodbye.
read it yet.
Can
I'll
we
get
keep-
to
for
it
this-
before my response on this one is favorite Star Wars game is the first KOTOR game. God, you talk about like storytelling and fun gameplay. What a great fucking game. Shout out to our last super chat question, Brendan Bellman. I love that name, by the way. He's been around for a while. Which is worse, Attack of the Clones or The Rise of Skywalker?
This is hard.
Ooh.
Do we have to give
It
in-depth
is
reasons,
hard.
or can we just all say
This is like asking me, do you
All
want a
right.
plate of shit with chocolate frosting or with vanilla frosting? It's like
Thank
it
you.
really.
It's exactly how I feel. It's like which one's gonna put me to sleep the fastest? Which one's worse? I'm gonna go Attack of the
Listen,
Clones.
I'll say this. You see, oh my god.
But see, hey,
Star Wars only? You just
I'm
posted your
learning-
ranking
hey,
on
I'm
Twitter
learning.
yesterday, and
It's
you had Rise of Skywalker last.
Yeah, but this is why. Hang on. Here let me try to. I always go back and forth because yet again, it's like Lunga's saying. It's like you're asking me to compare piles of shit. The Rise of Skywalker sucks because of how many hands were involved, how rushed the production was. You have J.J. Abrams and one of the worst writers in movie history, Chris Terrio, involved with these movies. Lucas literally like had to bring someone in to help with the dialogue. Worked for the day the Phantom Menace premiered. He was already writing. He'd already written for like a year for Attack of the Clones. This man spent so much time getting ready for Attack of the Clones, and it still fucking sucked. I mean, how do you do that? It's just, and it revolutionized the film industry with its digital cameras, and it still sucked. It hasn't aged well. I mean, it just looks awful. So I'm sorry, it is Attack of the Clones to me. That is on a technicality is worse than the Rise of Skywalker. For my ranking, I put Rise of Skywalker below it just because good God, how do you watch that? Like I feel like I have more interest in rewatching Attack of the Clones.
You want to stay here another hour?
By all means, hit me with your best shot. I mean, you're the one who's going to be like, "Oh, it's easily Attack of the Clones," and I know you're not wrong.
Yeah, it's easily Attack of the Clones, but I also like the story decisions that JJ had in mind for Rise of Skywalker. So it's easily for me. It's like it's simple as that. I like Rise of Skywalker. Does the execution is out of whack, and the dude had literally a year and a half to figure this story out, and Disney screwed him when they cut who knows how long or how many amount of scenes out of his movie. So I feel bad for the man. Poor Terrio is just having nightmare after nightmare with Warner Brothers and Disney. So
I mean, for me,
forgive me, but I do love the story concepts and ideas of Rise of Skywalker. But Attack of the Clones, I actually don't mind it. I think Attack of the Clones is better than Phantom Menace. Okay, no, hold on, I take that back.
Agree.
It's not better. I enjoy it more because even the bad parts of Attack of the Clones are funny. Like I still get enjoyment, but whenever they go to Naboo, I fall asleep. But Rise of Skywalker, Rise is a thrill ride from start to finish. There's not a freaking break in that movie. I don't see how anyone can fall asleep watching
There's not a break. It's the fucking pacing. It's just
all right. Let Lunga and me give our answers.
Yeah. No, for me, it's tight, but I would have to say Attack of the Clones is worse. Yes. That for and not slow down, boy. It's not because Rise of Skywalker were so fucking great. It's just because Rise of Skywalker was at least made more like a modern film. Okay, so it has points for cinematography, it has points for camera shots, it has points for that kind of stuff, for lighting and all that other good stuff. Even though a lot of shit sucked as a series, I did enjoy at least Kylo's arc, and I enjoyed his arc in this. There was no arcs in fucking Attack of the Clones. It was just fucking horrendous. Okay.
Hold on. Anakin went from hating sand to fighting on the grounds of sand at the end.
There was no progression.
Women and children.
Besides.
So it was just. Can I finish?
We're pissing people off in the comments.
It's like, now you were telling him, let me and Lunga talk just so we could hurry me up so you can talk.
I deserve it.
There's really not much. There's not much left to it. But no, so Rise is just better for those reasons. It's still a shitty fucking movie from beginning to end but it also plays into the fact of what the series happened. And that's, maybe it could have been better if the Last Jedi wasn't what the Last Jedi was, or vice versa, whatever the case may be. But for multiple just movie making points, Rise was better than Attack of the Clones.
All right, Goldman, take us home.
Besides the music, I honestly don't think there's a single thing about Attack of the Clones that's better than Rise of Skywalker.
Damn.
The characters, no. The acting, no.
Come on, Jango Fett.
The Jango Fett.
Count
Goku.
I guess Jango Fett was better in Attack of the Clones than he was in Rise of Skywalker. I'll give you that.
Count Dooku is
all our prequel fans are unsubscribing right now.
I actually like Attack of the Clones.
But I think it depends. We're talking about the broad story of the trilogy or just the movie in itself. I think the story of Attack of the Clones I think is boring. There's a bunch of systems seceding and we don't know why. There's like this whole convoluted plot of the clones, and Obi-Wan's an idiot and doesn't realize that this was planned by Count Dooku. So like, no, I mean, there's a love story, I guess. I think, and I might sound a little more harsh on Attack of the Clones because I actually think it's a better movie than Phantom Menace. Because I actually enjoy like at least 30 minutes of the movie. But yeah, I mean, besides the music, I don't know what else is better from.
That is
Hey,
Hey, can we
the
mention
funniest thing
the
about
only thing that made Dooku so great was that he was played by the fucking magnificent Christopher Lee, right?
No,
That's
Doku
what made
is
him so
not,
fucking
he's not a
great.
villain. He's not a character. He's just thrown in there
But-
because George realized he killed off Maul.
There
And he's
was
another
funniest
bad
shit
guy.
when he
was
he literally tells
no
Kenobi. He's like, "Hey, Kenobi,
Nothing
like,
about
what if
Dooku.
what if the entire thing was controlled by the Dark Lord of the Sith?" And Obi-Wan's like, "That's
Yeah.
impossible."
After, after Obi-Wan just witnessed all these clones created by some random Jedi that we never learn about, and then he also learns that the person the clones were based off of is working directly with the Sith. What? You're telling me he didn't click that
Shout out
together?
to Brendan for paying the fucking utility bills over here. It's stylistically designed to be that way. We can't undo that, but we can diminish the effects of it. That's
Hold on.
Lucas after seeing
We just don't understand it.
I know, but
you just
can
don't
anyone, no one answered my question. Can you tell me something that's better in Attack of the Clones than Rise of Skywalker besides the music? Maybe Palpatine. Maybe
the lightsaber duel. I don't know.
No,
if Yoda
dude, no,
versus-
stop.
No,
Stop.
no.
Stop. That's
Cinematic.
cap, bro.
Come on.
masterpiece.
We got for the first time ever an entire arena filled with Jedi and lightsabers. And it was
That's
the
not
first
a
appearance of
lightsaber
purple-
duel.
And it was the first appearance of a purple
Did
lightsaber.
that not get you
Okay, fair. Rise of Skywalker does not have a purple lightsaber. That is a good
Yeah, but Rise
point.
of Skywalker has a
Diversity.
yellow lightsaber.
Yeah, boom. It evens out. Some
Holy
people will
fuck.
put, a
Wasn't
lot
there
of people
yellow?
like
There was
yellow.
yellow. Was there yellow lightsabers in the prequels?
No.
Nope.
No, you're
Nope.
thinking the Temple
That's
Guards
the
in the
one.
Clone Wars. Here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. Yes, look, Count Dooku and somehow Palpatine Return came out of nowhere. Yes, at least Palpatine is an established character with depth behind him already. Count Dooku comes out of nowhere, has nothing to him, and then gets his head chopped off at the next movie.
Like immediately.
Like immediately.
Kill him.
Good moment for Anakin,
Kill him.
don't get me wrong. But as
Here,
a villain,
actually, time out.
coming out of nowhere, I'll take Palpatine all day.
Hey, can we
has a good point.
can we seriously appreciate how Anakin was like, no, I'm not supposed to do that. It was just like
I'll
so
give-
quick.
I'll give the first.
I may have gone too far in a few places.
I'll give first the counterpoint. The world building in Attack of the Clones was better than Rise of Skywalker. Two things.
Exegol itself and the whole Sith lore, I will take over.
They barely touched on the Sith lore. What are you talking about? They just
What do
said
you
This sounds like
The
this
Sith
sounds like a
cultists, the
Goldman
Sith army?
Palpa memes
The
argument.
Sith army, the Sith
Star Wars
cultists,
only. We're kinda out of
the
this one at this point.
statues, the home
We don't
world of
care,
the Sith.
yeah.
I mean, come on, we've never seen anything like that in live
it's
action.
really visuals. I mean, they didn't really touch on
Oh,
it at all.
Korriban, you asshole.
I don't care about Korriban. Or Orange Planet. Give me blue, man.
You asshole.
So there we go. Alright, I'll give
Okay.
world building and music. I think are better in Attack of the
You
Clones.
can't appropriate
fair.
my
Attack
culture
of
like
Clones has
that,
some good
pal.
music.
Memes, all right. There's Moorban, there's Korriban.
You're
Those are the
Legends
homeless
fans,
worlds of the
man.
Sith. I don't know if you've heard of Darth Bane. All right, motherfucker's awesome. Anyways, that's our show. Thank you guys for coming in. Super chats were great. Clearly gave us a lot to talk about. If you're listening on Spotify, please give us a 5-star review. Check us out next Wednesday. We're going to end season 3 relatively soon, just because we got some time between now and August for the Andor series, and take a little bit of a break after we've killed each other over the Kenobi series. But until then, we'll see you guys next Wednesday night. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you all next time. May the Force be with you.
Wow.